Welcome to the playtesting session for the game Stereotypical Dungeon Crawler. We ask you play through the game and give us feedback on positive and negative aspects of the game. All feedback is appreciated. Feel free to ask questions if needed. Stereotypical Dungeon Crawler is a turn-based RPG where two teams of two players race against each other to clear out the dungeon. Take control of funny, over-exaggerated characters based on stereotypes where their trope influences their abilities. General gameplay. The main aim of the game is to collect all of the enemy tokens within your side of the dungeon, which will then allow access to the boss room, where players can shop, trade items, and fight the final boss. Once the final boss is defeated, the game is won. Gameplay breakdown. Choosing characters. Before the game begins, players must choose the characters they will be playing for the rest of the match. Different characters play differently depending on the stats and abilities they have. All characters have stats which positively or negatively affect some aspects of gameplay, while the ability is an activation which will change aspects of the gameplay dramatically. Token placement. Both teams start with 5 tokens. These tokens have a 50-50 chance of being a monster or a loot chest. These tokens are placed in the opponent's side of the board, and your opponent places tokens on your side of the board. Once all the tokens are collected, the doors to the boss room will open, so move quickly or come last. Movement. Teams roll a d6 to decide on the amount of hexes that can be moved. After collecting a token, your team permanently get a movement buff due to the adrenaline rushing through your veins. Players do not have to use up all of their moves. The d6 plus bonus is an indication of the maximum movement potential. Token interaction. Once a player reaches a token, they must flip it to decide whether it's a monster or a loot chest. If the token lands on a loot chest, the player must roll a d6 to decide on the random odds, whether it's gold or potentially gold with potions. If the token lands on a monster, a d6 is rolled to decide on what monster must be faced. Troll tokens. Troll tokens are special tokens that interact with each team, giving one side positives and the other side negatives. These interactions range from blocking paths to making sure that the enemy's next token is a monster with no rewards. These tokens do not have to be gathered before entering the boss room, but they can help sway an advantage. Combat mechanics. Combat is split into two sides, the attacking and the defending. When the player attacks, they must roll a d6 to decide on the hit chance of the attack, and then they roll a d20 for the damage of the attack. The defending side has two choices. The player must choose between defending or evading the attack. When defending, the player must roll a d20, and the damage difference is taken as the damage dealt. But if the damage roll is higher than the attack, then they only take 1 damage. While the evading player must roll above the number of attack damage, or they will take full damage. Monsters attack an area of effect. This means it hits both players, and they must both choose to defend or evade. Death and regeneration. If a player falls in combat, they are sent back to the starting area. If only one of the player dies, the other team members must rush back to the start point as fast as they can before they are allowed to do anything else. Once the team has reached the start point, the player is revived. They both regenerate to full health and some of their gold is taken. At any point of the game, players can return to the start and regenerate health. This will end their turn. Items and potions. Items can be attained by defeating monsters or buying them from the store. Potions are items that are consumable and will go away after one-time use. Some potions last for multiple turns. Items range from common to rare and then to epic. These tiers are designed to denote the quality of the item and the bigger effects they will have on the gameplay. Items are extremely powerful and take up slots in your character's inventory. In essence, you can't run around with 30 swords in your hand. The slots are one-handed, which you can have 2 of them, two-handed, head, chest, boots, and utility, with a possibility of carrying 3 utility at a time. The store, the boss room, and the Elven Assortment store, the player shop, which sells an assortment of items from all tiers. Items that have been accumulated within the dungeon can be sold back to the store for a small amount of gold. At any point in the game, players can bring up the Elven Assortment store, where a greedy old elf can offer a trading system via gambling. In this gambling system, players can swap items they own for potential better ones, getting better gear, but there is also a chance of getting worse gear. This risk-reward shop can turn commons into epics if your luck is right. PvP. Lastly, after both doors are open, the teams can meet and have a player versus player combat. This PvP combat works similar to normal combat, but players must choose their target rather than all facing one monster.